So for our final experimentation using text in Animate CC, we are going to apply the good old Star Wars 3D vanishing text trick. What I've done here is create a simple text area, and I have entered some text, as you can see, gold text, and it's on a black background in this case. So the next thing we need to do is to convert our text area into an object. So we go modify, convert to symbol, and I'll call this Star Wars text and leave it as a movie clip. Let's hit OK. So now we have our object and it's sitting on layer 1, and what we need to do now is to start using some of these other tools that reside in the toolbar. What we have here is the 3D rotation tool. So when I click on the 3D rotation tool, you'll notice that we have this compass-like graphic that sits over the top. And if we start to turn and rotate various points, we will be manipulating the object in 3 dimensions. So this can actually be applied to any object. So as you saw, I grabbed the red line and I dragged it just to the left. And what this does, if you look at the changing values over here, is it's changing the angle and the aspect of our text object. So that's the kind of view that we're going for here. If I use the arrow key, I'll just move it higher up into the screen like so. Let's now go out and create 100 frames. So I'm going to drag across the timeline, right click and insert frames. The next thing that we need to do is to right click on our text layer and create a Motion Tween. Now we have our blue line, and obviously our starting point will be off the screen down here. So what I'm going to do is click back onto that text object, and with our translation tool, I'm going to play with the numbers on the right hand side this time. So we have selected our text object, and now what I'm going to do is show you what the Z value does. Z either moves the object closer to the front of the canvas or stage, or moves it deeper. Y is the vertical position. So what we need to do is a combination of X and Y adjustments. So I will just use the X position to center it more, and we will also zoom out so we can see how the text is going to enter, and we'll continue to make some fine adjustments until we are ready to continue. As you can see, this is an infinite value in some senses, and it allows us to manipulate objects to make them move through stage areas. So now if I was to go forward, you'll see how the text is moving into the screen, and if I was to adjust the Y value as it comes in, we have the effect of the text moving up the screen and away from the viewer. So let's now construct our opening position. Okay, so that's how it's going to begin. We have Y 338 and Z is minus 178. We have a Motion Tween, so what we'll now do is go to the end and decide our final point. So here we're going to move the text into the screen and raise its position as well. And so if we play this through now, I'll press enter. It will move quite quickly, but you'll see the text vanishing into that perspective point. Obviously this is moving very quickly, so you would want to probably click and drag out a whole section there. Right click and insert frames, and this will slow our animation down. Another important thing to do is to create a point in the frames where you start to fade the text away. In a previous tutorial you would have seen that we use alpha to fade objects in and out, or symbols in and out. So what I'll do here is press F6 to insert a keyframe here, and if we click on our object, we're going to set alpha to 100, and obviously we'll be fading that down to 0 by the final frame. So let's now scrub ahead to 165, and having selected the object, we will fade the alpha down to 0. And so now we have our text fading away. Let's test the movie. Control, test scene. So we used a combination of the 3D rotation tool on the original symbol and adjustments to the Y and Z values on its 3D position and view. It's very important if you're using any kind of scrolling text to make sure that the timing allows the viewer to read the text. So make sure you do lots of testing.